One of the most crucial pillars to planning and executing an adventure is your snacks. Anyone that's done an adventure knows that you are ravishing food, and it's important that you're filling your body with quality snacks and not just junk food. And I've made that mistake way too many times. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about our newest sponsor, Wonderful Pistachios. Pistachios are a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids and one of the highest protein snack nuts. And also, unlike meat, protein-powered pistachios are naturally cholesterol-free and add fiber to your day. And not only that, they're really filling, so it's none of those empty calories that you get with a lot of other snack food. And it's super versatile as well. I just had some on a salad literally 10 minutes ago, and I had some as a snack this afternoon. And you can get them different ways. You can get them lightly salted, roasted, sweet chili, salt and pepper, and you can get them traditionally in shell or no shell. So if you're interested, visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. When it comes to watching the big game, every second counts, especially if you are missing even a moment of the action to go for a drink run. Luckily, there's Drizzly. It's the #1 app for alcohol delivery. Y'all know I work for a brewery. It's non-alcoholic beer, so we can ship it right to your house. But you can't do that with other brands. But now you can with Drizzly. You can shop local stores, compare the prices over a huge selection of beer, wine, spirits, and get it all delivered to your house in under 60 minutes. Or you can schedule it up to 2 weeks in advance. So if you're throwing a big party, have it all ready to go. Talk about a slam dunk. They also make it very easy to send those as a gift. You can literally gift people that alcohol right to your friends, family, for whatever occasion, even if that occasion is rubbing in their face that their team lost. In your face, other team. So if you're looking to spend more time watching the game, download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com today. Hey folks, about a month ago, Nathan finished this challenge. Travis is still out there finishing the list, but we're talking to both of them today. And what Nathan did was called the SPS list. It's the Sierra Peaks series, and it's a list of 247 significant mountains in the Sierra Nevada mountains in California. And all of these are pretty big mountains. A lot of them 12,000, 13,000, and 14,000 feet. Most of them, there's some that are smaller than that, but not many. It's an enormous list, and very few people have even completed the list, much less do it in record time. But Nathan specifically finished on July 8th. And also, last year, if you remember, we had Jason Hardrath on to talk about his journey to 100, the 100 highest peaks in Washington. Nathan completed that list too. He did most of those peaks with Jason and went back and finished the rest. And so Nathan did that with Jason on the Bulgers list back in 2021. And now Travis is doing that with Nathan on the SPS list. So Travis is almost done. He's worked his way through a ton of the mountains. We're catching up with both of them right outside of Yosemite. They're about to enter Yosemite Valley right before we talk. And so we're talking about that, and we get into it, but they're getting ready for a really big and really exciting section of the experience right when we're talking. Again, this is a couple months ago. Nathan has already finished, but go check it out. Their website, SPS 2022, is amazing. And also I wanted to shout out, they did do it for a cause in the Bishop Paiute Food Sovereignty Program. If you would like to contribute to that, that is also in the show notes. And that was what food security and not being wasteful is a huge goal of theirs, a huge goal of mine personally. I don't like to waste food. And this food sovereignty program you can contribute to. And they were able to raise a few $1,000s for it. So go check it out and let's support them. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. All right, folks, you heard a little bit in the intro, but want to welcome Nathan Longhurst and Travis Soares to the Adventure Sports Podcast. Welcome, y'all.
Hey, thanks for having us. A fan of the pod. Actually listened to a couple episodes recently while I've been out walking. So it's an honor.
That's awesome. That's too cool to hear. I didn't know people actually listen to the show. It's like it's like you got a little raft and you just push it out in the ocean. It's like wherever it goes, it goes. That's how it is when you click, publish on the show. So it's like wherever it goes, it goes. But that's cool. Yeah, no, it's honored to talk to y'all. I'm absolutely blown away doing research about this experience. Can't imagine what all you've seen. I mean, I'm super jealous, but two, I always want to know, and I think I know where y'all are right now, but I want to know, where are you coming from right now?
Right now we are in Oakhurst, California, on the west side of the Sierra. We're on our way to Yosemite. We'll be there this evening.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, man, I love Oakhurst. I used to live in Yosemite Valley, which I'm sure listeners are tired of hearing of, and Oakhurst was like the closest town with like a real grocery store or anything.
Yeah, that's funny. We're actually in the grocery store parking lot as we speak.
Oh my gosh. Well, hopefully it's not too hot for you in the back of the van.
It's a little toasty, but
I'm sure it's nothing compared to what you've done so far. But well, dude, y'all, thank y'all so much for taking the time. I don't want to like put you out or anything, but this is just an honor to talk to you and just to hear about this unbelievable experience. But before we jump in, I do want to hear where are both of y'all from, and how did you meet, and also just maybe some of your adventure or sports background, because talking to folks on the show, you just never know. You never know if it was just all ball sports or no sports at all, and they got into what they do now and what we're talking about on the show. But where you're from, and where's home for you, and then what you were into growing up.
Yeah, I can start. This is Travis speaking. I was born in Rhode Island, where there aren't any mountains, but lots of ocean. And yeah, growing up, I was just outside the neighborhood I grew up in. We had around 12 kids, similar age, and we were just always playing like football or capture the flag and like running around in the woods. So I was pretty active. And then, yeah, going into like more traditional sports, I played football for 6 years and eventually realized that I was too small to play somewhere in high school, and transitioned to running cross country and wrestling. And running really spoke to me, and is something that I've just continued to do, and I've been going on longer and longer runs since, and I think that's why I'm here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Go ahead, go for your side, Nathan.
So I'm from Spokane, Washington, which is on the very far east side of Washington State. And I was really fortunate growing up to have parents that were interested in spending lots of time in the outdoors. So we spent a lot of time backpacking and camping and fishing at some of the mountains and alpine lakes around Spokane. As I grew up, I started running some more. I started running track and cross country in middle school and on my high school teams. Got really into that. And around the same time, later middle school, I started getting into rock climbing. Actually first started just by going to the climbing gym, but then started climbing outside more at some of the crags around Spokane. And those two, for me, just kind of eventually came together in a really cool way when I found the mountains, and I realized that I could run these amazing trails up into the mountains and climb on, these awesome scrambling routes and alpine routes. So I got really hooked on that in the North Cascades. Spent a couple summers doing that. And then through those kind of mixed running and scrambling routes, I got introduced to FKTs, which ended up leading me to get in touch with Jason. I actually got in touch with him just via Instagram DM about the Rainier Infinity Loop, which was a route he had the record on at the time that I was interested in trying. And so I got in touch with Jason. He was really open, and that conversation actually ended up leading to us partnering up for his Bulgers project last summer. And so I did a lot of those peaks with him. Got really into the idea of like doing a peak list from a through hiking style approach. So just kind of going day after day after day to work through a whole list. And so that sort of naturally led into this project that we're in the middle of right now.
That's so wild, y'all. Yeah, Nathan, yeah, I've heard your name a bunch with obviously Journey to 100 coming out and taking that around the country. And you're in the film a lot. Jason credits you a lot with just keeping the stoke high and being like a companion on that list. And you went on to complete the Bulgers list in a 94-day time frame, and also the second person to do it in a single season, which is awesome. Man, this is like literally the Bulgers times 2.8, like almost 3 times. Like this is insane what y'all are doing right now. So take us through, what is the SPS, which is stands for the Sierra Peaks section, peak list. And for folks that don't know, the Sierra Peaks section is like a group within the Sierra Club in the Los Angeles Sierra Club chapter. Like it's actually a little confusing. Could y'all explain like what the list is and why it's important?
So essentially, yeah, you kind of led into it well. So to my understanding, there was this peak section of the Sierra Club, and they created a list. And the interesting thing, like the real appeal to me about the SPS list is that it's not like a mathematical list. So with the Bulgers list, it's the 100 highest in Washington, and that's how 90% of peak lists are. It's like the peaks above this elevation or the peaks with this amount of prominence.
Like 14ers, for instance. That's just
exactly
literally based on a number.
Yeah. But with the SPS list, they actually sort of separated the Sierra into 24 distinct sections, like geographical sections, and then they picked the most significant peaks in each of those sections. And so you get peaks, up on the northern end around Tahoe or in the southern end that are only 8,000 or 9,000 feet tall, which they wouldn't make a cutoff list of, like, they're probably not even the top 400 peaks in California, maybe even not the top 500. But they're really interesting and cool peaks, since you get a nice even distribution throughout the range, which I think makes for a really cool and immersive experience, being able to travel across the entire Sierra Nevada range.
282 peaks is, I mean, that's just a lot of mountains, man. And not having like a definitive like criteria for what they meet. It's like subjective a little bit, what makes one of the peaks, but nonetheless, it's a lot of peaks. What made both of you want to tackle this? I mean, just from a logistics point of view and like the time frame, I mean, it's such a daunting goal. Who brought it up first, and how did y'all connect about this?
So, well, first, just to clarify, it's 247 peaks, actually.
Oh, I saw 282.
You scared me for a second there.
Yeah, they literally just added 40 yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. So,
no, I wouldn't be upset. I need more mountains to climb. So it's kind of a little bit of a crazy story and a little bit of an out of the blue thing. After doing the Bulgers last summer, this gentleman who used to live in California, he lives abroad now. His name's Dan, and complete stranger to me at the time. He just got in touch with me saying that he was interested in contributing to, like, helping sponsor my next big project. And he actually suggested the list. And at the time, I'd never heard of it. So this was back in September. So less than a year ago, I'd never even heard of the list. And he suggested it, and I was pretty hesitant at first just because it's such a big project, such a long list. But as I talked to him about it, and the more I kind of researched the list and did some of my own investigating, the more and more attracted to the idea I became, and the rest is history, I guess.
What about you, Travis? How did you get involved?
Yeah, I think once Nathan had committed to doing the list, I think Jason put us in contact, and I don't know if Nathan was actively looking for a partner, but basically Dan also reached out to me and said, hey, I think this is something that you could do too. And so I reached out to Nathan, and at first I wasn't particularly interested in a list because was like, who created this list? Like, what's the significance? I'm more so drawn by aesthetics as a mountain athlete, but I looked at it on a map and it seemed to make sense to me. And at the very least, I figured it would just be a awesome way to get to know the Sierras, which are really special to me. And And yeah, it has been. I've learned a lot about this range. And it was something that I wasn't sure that I could do, and it really scared me, which I think is a good thing to try to go for if you have that feeling.
Yeah, that's absolutely, go in the direction that you're scared of the most. It's kind of like a good way to live. But I see where I made the mistake of 282. I was just talking about the list of the Munros in Scotland. It's a list of mountains in Scotland, and there's 282 of those. I just did a podcast on that this morning. That's where my confusion was. That's a different list. So if you want to do that one day, that's all in Scotland. Beautiful mountains, but this is 247. It's crazy how close they are, actually. But no, going back to this list, when you first thought of the idea, I'd love to hear too about what like your family's thought. Obviously, Nathan, you had done stuff like this before, and I know Travis, you've done like the AT, you've climbed El Cap, you've got a bunch of FKTs too. What were people's reactions when you said you wanted to do the full list?
I think my family was mostly pretty excited. They were really supportive. They saw that I had a really good time and really a great experience doing the Bulgers with Jason. I think they were a little bit baffled at first just because, again, it's such a long thing. It's like the equivalent of doing it through like one of the long trails in the U.S., a through hike. It's that kind of time commitment and then some. But yeah, they were mostly excited for me.
Yeah, similar for me. I'm very fortunate to have supportive parents who I'm very grateful that they I think they've sort of been desensitized over the years. Since I was in high school, I put together a presentation. When I first wanted to hike the Appalachian Trail, I would present it to them to try to get them to let me go. And they just, told me to wait until I graduated and had enough money. But so, I've been coming to them with some crazy ideas, I think, for a while now, and just slowly desensitized them to this. So they're all in. They're psyched for me.
That's awesome. So tell us about starting this experience and kind of what's the strategy going into it? Because y'all are at different kind of points of the list right now, from what I can tell. Nathan, you're at 155 peaks, so well over halfway. And Travis, you're at 83, 156 and 83 from what I can tell. So I'd love to hear about like, how did you begin approaching it? What's the strategy and what's the difference between the two of y'all's completion list?
So, well, I hate to brag, but we're out of you, Basin. I think I'm at 168 now.
Oh, really? So the website's a little behind.
The website might be behind.
No, you scared me again.
Dang. My data is all off then.
That's all good. But yeah, so I'm a really avid ski mountaineer. I started skiing. In fact, I should have mentioned this when I was talking about my sort of upbringing in the outdoors. I started skiing when I think I was 6 years old. Started going to the ski resort throughout my whole adolescence and high school years. Then I got really into backcountry skiing because, the snow is always better. You can ski deeper powder. And then backcountry skiing led into ski mountaineering, where the snow always sucks and the lines are scary and rocky. But it's a lot of fun. You can ski these amazing lines. And coincidentally, the Eastern Sierra is, in my opinion, maybe the best mountains on earth for ski mountaineering, between big lines and easy access in the wintertime. And so as I was planning this list, I was kind of debating back and forth because skiing, with having to move through snow-covered terrain and you have to carry a lot more gear and it's a lot more conditions dependent, I knew that it would be a little bit less efficient than starting later and doing everything on foot. But I also just love that mode of travel through the mountains. And to me, that's just like the aesthetic way to do a lot of these mountains and like the best way to experience a lot of these mountains. And so I decided that I was going to start early in the spring. I ended up starting February 19th, I believe. And I skied a good handful. I think I ended up skiing 70 and change peaks. Had a really good time doing that. And then kind of in late April, I switched modes. And that's when Travis started with me, when we started on foot together.
Unreal.
And for me, originally I was interested in trying to ski with Nathan because I knew that was something that I haven't explored as much. But then it kind of became clear that Nathan is a much faster skier than me after a test run, and so I basically decided for me it was more. I'm a little bit more interested in just climbing and running the peaks instead. And so once Nathan and I finish together, once Nathan finishes his list, I'm gonna go back and climb the remaining peaks.
Man, this is so wild. So how have y'all been holding up? You've been out for how long now exactly?
I think for myself, it's been 54-ish days and like 100 and something for Nathan.
A little over 100.
That's actually what I had written down, but I didn't know if it'd be wrong again, so I didn't want to say anything. I'm just kidding. But no, this is absolutely wild. So 100 days, Nathan, and 50 for you. That is by no means a small adventure. Some of my longest experiences are right around the 2 to 3 month mark. So right in between y'all, that can feel like a lifetime away from normal life or whatever life was before. How have y'all been holding up? How are y'all doing? Let's take a quick message break and hear from the folks that help make this show possible. I'd like to introduce you to our newest sponsor, Gnarly Nutrition. I know you've heard about them recently because we've had some guests on recently that credits Gnarly for helping them do the adventures that we talk about on this show. So Chris Fisher was one who did the Vert Max. He did 400,000 feet of elevation gain in a month. Check out that episode. That was not too far back. And he credits Gnarly Nutrition for keeping his body literally sustained during that time, just packing in the calories. It's amazing nutrition for anyone doing anything adventure, endurance-based, whether that's in the mountains or bike packing or whatever. It's a great thing to have with you prior to an adventure training and also during an adventure. And also Jason Hardrath, who recently did the 100 fastest known times. He did 100 mountains in 50 days and just was slamming Gnarly Nutrition. He also credits Gnarly for essentially keeping his body sustained. And so Gnarly Nutrition has been around since 2008. They were born in Utah's Wasatch Mountains, and they are committed to educating and inspiring athletes of all levels to be as nutritionally sound as possible. Their nutrition supplements are certified by NSF and have science-backed products free of hormones, free of GMOs, proprietary blends, and nothing artificial. So Gnarly is going to help you get ready and help you sustain during those huge adventure efforts. So if you're looking for the best tasting and the most trusted sports nutrition brand for any endurance athletes, go to GoGnarly, and that is GNARLY.com, and use the code GNARLYADVENTURE15 for 15% off. And just, a personal plug here. I love Gnarly. I love the folks there. They're doing such a fantastic job. They have been so great to work with. They helped provide some products for our Journey to 100 film series that we were doing giveaways with at the end of every film screening. So it's been a pleasure to work with them so far. So if you'd like to support the folks that are supporting this show, definitely go visit GoGnarly.com. That is plenty of that for now. Let's get back into the episode.
Mostly good. It has certainly felt like a long journey so far for me. We've actually just yesterday we got a view of some of the peaks around Mammoth that I did pretty early on in the project. Peaks like Bloody Mountain and Red Slate. And just like looking over at them and remembering when I was on top of them, it feels like a lifetime ago.
Wow.
But I think we've done a pretty good job at pacing ourselves. So, we're moving quickly and efficiently, but getting just enough rest in here and there that it's mostly sustainable. Bodies are definitely tired and a little bit fatigued, but yeah, it's not like a shorter effort where we're just like blasting everything out of the tank every day and then just getting back to the van completely wrecked.
Yeah, I think honestly the first week and a half was the most difficult physically for me, when my body was just trying to understand what was happening and was trying to keep up. And now that it kind of knows the deal. It's been able to adapt that I can just sort of move every day, all day. It's kind of amazing how bodies can do that. So far, been holding up.
That is wild.
One of the funny things that I've found with long efforts like this is your body sort of naturally, it'll like put a cap on your output level. And so, like you'll be trotting along the trail doing your 3 mile an hour pace. And then if you try to bump it up any faster, if you try to jog at all, you go for like 2 minutes and your body's like, no, back to the shuffle. So yeah, it's like you just kind of figure out this sustainable pace that's fast and efficient, but you can't really move any faster than that, or your body just refuses.
It's like a different kind of rut that you're in, this rut of extreme rut that your body's in, but it's hard to get out of slower or faster. That's wild. Man, that is so cool. I mean, I know that there's just so much I want to know about this from like a logistics and just the beauty of it. I'm totally biased. My favorite mountains in the whole world are the Sierra Nevadas. So what you're doing, seeing nearly every square inch of it is just like a dream come true.
Oh, it's amazing.
And I know, Nathan, you've covered over 1,400 miles. Heck, it might be closer to 1,500 now. And Travis, you'll be approaching like 1,000 miles. I know you're over 800 right now, and also hundreds of thousands of feet in vertical gain. Tell us about like how you're approaching this, because you don't go, and it's not a through hike where you go do all of them at once and resupply in towns. You have to come back to, I guess, your van, drive to the next like place you park and do a section or do a segment of them. How has that been organized, and what does that look like?
So I basically just have a CalTopo file, and it has a mark for each of the SPS peaks. And I started working on this file back in September when I started planning for the project. And let me tell you, I really wish that CalTopo, if anyone from CalTopo headquarters hears this, we need to add a feature that tells you how long you've spent looking at one of your maps, because I've probably spent thousands of hours looking at this CalTopo file. So basically, I went through, took all the groups of peaks. Some of them are easy. It's just like a single peak near a trailhead. You just do it car to car. So those were all pretty easy to figure out. What got really challenging is when I got into like sort of the heart of the High Sierra, so like the area, like the Evolution region above Bishop, and then like down along the crest to Mount Whitney area, and then like over on the western side, you get these big groups of peaks that are all really close together, and it got really kind of tricky and complicated to figure out how to most efficiently separate them into reasonable trips. But yeah, sort of piece by piece, kind of untangled everything. And as I was doing it, the goal that I had was to make everything into trips that were efficient, but into trips that we could do sort of self-supported by ourselves. Because we didn't have, like, technically this is a supported effort, because we have had things where we've had other people, and we've had some people help us with some stuff. But for the most part, we've just been kind of going out on these self-supported trips. So nothing longer than, 3 to 5 days, maybe as long as a week. And so I sort of separated everything into little segments that we could do like that from a single trailhead. And for the most part, tried to separate things into sections where we could, hike our backpacking stuff, hike our camp in, and then do day trips from there, like day loops to hit a bunch of peaks, because we're both soft and we don't like carrying heavy packs up mountains.
I don't know if you're soft, but you just don't like to carry heavy stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so just kind of piece by piece figured out where would be the most efficient to access each group of peaks from. And then from that, made a big driving plan and tried to make that as smooth as possible as well. We're basically just doing one big loop around the entire range. And yeah, kind of just settled into the current schedule that we're in the middle of right now.
Unreal. That is awesome. Man, what an adventure. What an adventure. Now I know that the list is broken into sections, with like the most pristine or the best mountains being the emblem peaks. Have you noticed like a difference in the ones that are considered emblem and mountaineering versus the ones that are like on lower sections of the list, if that makes sense? Have you noticed like a difference in the quality of the experience?
Yeah, I think for me, what I notice is when you get on top of a summit and the peaks that are tall and like striking and stand out to you, like for instance, Black Kaweah or Mount Goddard or Mount Humphreys. And you're just like, wow, that's a nice peak. For the most part, those seem to be the emblem peaks. Yeah, I'd say they're pretty cool.
We have on the wall of Travis's van here, we have the list posted up, and so we're both looking at it and picking out which ones are the emblem peaks.
But then you never know. You might get like one small little peak that's just like kind of tucked in the middle of this range that just has like the coolest view ever, and you never would have imagined that such a small peak or like one that you've never heard of is also like just pretty awesome too. And that's been one of the coolest things about following a list, is that you never know like what the character of a peak is going to be like.
Yeah, I found that with the Bulgers as well, and yeah, it was with the SPS list. In addition, you get these random little peaks in some remote corner of the range that you would never climb otherwise, unless they're on kind of like this arbitrary list. But then you go climb them, and you're like, "This is the most amazing peak I've ever been on." Like, there's this one. It's below Kearsarge Pass. It's called Mount Bago. And it's not really an interesting climb. It's kind of a walk up, and it's not particularly tall. It's actually significantly shorter than all the peaks around it. I think it's less than 12,000 feet, but it just has one of the most incredible summit views I've ever seen, because you have this awesome, like, in your face view of the big northeast faces of the Great Western Divide, and then all the other peaks around the Kearsarge Pass area.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's like overlooking these two canyons, and down in one canyon, you can see Charlotte Dome, which is this huge granite wall. And then you can see Bubbs Creek. And yeah, it's an incredible view.
But like looking at this peak on a topo map, it doesn't really jump out to you. It's not one that you'd go out of your way to go climb otherwise.
That's awesome. Now, have you had any peaks? Obviously, a lot of these I'm sure you're doing alone, or you're just the only people around because they're so remote and people aren't going after them. Have you had any peaks where it was like just a lot of people there, a big presence, and was that like a shock to the system almost, or was it bizarre?
We've actually haven't really been seeing too many people from the summit registers. We've basically noticed that we're the first of the year on probably 85% of these peaks so far, maybe more. Now that the snow is melting and it's June, I think people are considering.
As you gear up for fall, you need the right people on your team to help your small business fire on all cylinders, especially around the holidays. LinkedIn Jobs is here to make it easier to find the right people you want to talk to faster and for free, which is my favorite part. I've used LinkedIn to look for jobs and for hiring. We've posted lots of job postings on there with my day job, and that's how probably we get the most candidates. You get to create a free listing in just a couple minutes, and then you can post it to your network and to the greater network of LinkedIn professionals at over 810 million people. It's simple tools. You can ask screening questions to see who's going to be a good fit or not right out of the gate, and you can target just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize what you're looking for and what you're not. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. And with over 40 million job seekers visiting LinkedIn every single week, you're bound to get some amazing candidates. Post your jobs for free at linkedin.com/ASP. That's linkedin.com/ASP. And find that link in the show notes. Terms and conditions apply. Hey folks, your host Mason here. If you know me, you know that I don't really like to shower. I don't like to get dressed up a whole lot. I'm usually wearing flip-flops, and yeah, I'm kind of a dirtbag in all honesty, but when the time is right, I like to get dressed up. I like to go out and look nice. And when I do, I like to get my accessories and some of my stuff from Trend Him. Recently, I got a new watch from them. Great watch. It looks really nice. I feel good wearing it. I got some belts from them, some sunglasses, and just a couple things to complete my look when I want to look a little nice. Go out with my wife, do a little dancing. You know what I'm saying? So if you are looking for a go-to destination for men's accessories at affordable prices, go to Trend Him. They have a huge selection of products, 6,500 different products in 22 different categories, everything from ties to bracelets to necklaces to watches, which was big for me because I lose track of time pretty easily, but not anymore. Not with my Trend Him watch. If you're looking to maybe get some stuff from Trend Him, go to trnd.hm/ASP for Adventure Sports Podcast. Again, that's trnd.hm/ASP. And you can also find that in the show notes.
Sierra season to be opening up. So, and especially because we're going to be heading down to Yosemite, we're going to see a lot of people, I think, from here on out. But for this first part of the project, haven't really seen a lot of people.
We did have one. This wasn't on a summit, but it was kind of a funny experience. So we were up in Mineral King, and we were actually the first people to drive up when the road opened. We timed it on the day of the opening. We were there waiting for the gate to open. And so we drove up, we parked at the trailhead, went in for a 4-day backpacking trip, and we were the only people at the trailhead when we left. And this is over Memorial Day weekend. So we got back on Sunday evening of Memorial Day weekend, and the trailhead was just packed. Like, not a single spot left. There were probably 100 cars up there. And it was like, yep, like, backcountry season in the Sierra Nevada has started. It's official.
And the thing about Mineral King is there's this infamous story of the Mineral King marmot where they sneak in to people's cars and munch on their radiator hoses,
insulation,
and so what people have come up with for a solution is they just wrap their hood, or in some cases their entire car, in tarps. And so looking down on the parking lot, we saw like 20 to 30 cars, and they're all blue, wrapped in tarps, and it was just the strangest thing. And
it's kind of a surreal moment.
And our van was the only one that was untarped, and we were like, "Oh boy, we hope we didn't get munched on," but thankfully we were left alone.
Isn't your van blue as well?
My van's the blue one. We had Travis's up at Mineral King. But...
that's hilarious. Yeah, can't they chew like brake lines and stuff too?
Yeah, there's stories of them wreaking all kinds of havoc, but apparently they don't have an appetite for beater 40 lines because we were spared.
That's hilarious. Oh man, so I mean, it's just there's so much you've experienced. What's maybe one of the striking things you feel like you've learned about the Sierras through this experience, whether it's something hopeful or something dire about the future? Is there anything that you've just noticed being out there about that mountain range?
Good question.
That's my job.
I mean, lots, especially over here on the west side, we've been through lots and lots of very recent fires. So as I was planning, Caltapo has a great feature that you can see like maps of like where recent wildfires have been. And so I used that to figure out what we needed to prioritize getting done early in the season to avoid being blocked by a wildfire. And, you know, like you can hear the statistics and like see numbers on a graph and whatever about the increase of wildfires. And it sort of seems like, you know, whatever. But when you're looking at a map and you're looking at, okay, here's where the fires were in 2000, here's where the fires were in 2001, and then all the way on until the recent years, it's like absolutely shocking, the exponential growth in both the size and the distribution of wildfires just over like the last 10 years or 20 years, the difference between 2000 and then like last summer. It's remarkable.
That was actually one of my questions was how have wildfires or even the smoke been affecting you at all? And have y'all run into those delays or those change of plans?
We haven't had any yet. We're hoping that we can both get done before that becomes too big of an issue. You know, we're still early in the season. There was actually one trailhead that was still closed from a fire last year. The trailhead to access Coyote and Angora Peaks. So we had to do those from Mineral King from a different direction. But in terms of fires this season, we haven't had anything yet, fortunately.
When are y'all hoping to be done with the list, the full list?
So right now for me, if everything goes perfectly, it'll be I believe July 7th or July 8th. And then I think Travis is going to be mid-August.
Yeah, I'm hoping to finish around a month after that time. So hopefully early to mid-August.
What are some of the peaks you're looking forward to, I guess? Obviously you're going to Yosemite. I'm sure y'all are excited about going there. Obviously it can be crazy there, but as far as busyness, but it's an amazing place and it's so iconic and it's so beautiful. How long are you going to be there and what are you going to try to do while you're there?
We've been looking forward to Yosemite since we started. We're both rock climbers. And so we've been looking forward to being back in the valley. We both spent a good amount of time there. And I think I can speak for Nathan saying and myself that it's kind of feels like home in some ways. So tomorrow we're going to be climbing Half Dome via Snake Dyke, which is a 5-7 route up the slabs. Then we're going to traverse over to Clouds Rest. And then the next couple of days, we're going to be climbing some of the peaks around in the Clark Range, as well as Star King. Yeah, we'll be climbing North Peak and Kness. Kness's West Ridge is a really fun 5-6 ridge that we both climbed and both looking forward to.
Absolute mega classic.
Yeah. So lots of climbing, which we haven't been doing as much since we started. So we're both looking forward to that.
Is the goal to be back down at the van at the end of the day for those peaks?
Most of them, yeah. We have one long backcountry link up back in the Clark Range and the Cathedral Range. But other than that, we have a few day trips.
That's awesome. Oh, so cool. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be nice to kind of be in a little bit of civilization for a little while. It makes up for it in the fact that it's so beautiful and so iconic. So I'm sure that's going to be just so much fun, honestly. So tell us a little bit about like the gear you're using. I know you both have backpacking experience and doing stuff like that, but what are you bringing? What's some of like the essentials and what's some of the things that you aren't bringing that people might think you are?
For backpacking, I guess one thing that I usually leave behind is a tent because it's the Sierra and the Sierra are magical and it never rains. I used a tent earlier in the season when we were winter camping, but for the last probably close to 2 months now, I haven't brought a tent. But yeah, sleeping bags, sleeping pads, lots of food. If you saw my food bag for our most recent 2-day trip, you'd think I was going out for 2 weeks. And I ate it all. Yeah, beyond that, we climb pretty much everything in our scrappy trail running shoes. Both of our shoes are pretty hammered, and we go through lots of pairs very quickly. We haven't been bringing any climbing gear. We don't bring a rope or a rack because we've generally been selecting routes that we're comfortable just doing solo. Running packs, basically taking kind of a extreme fast and light, just kind of like a trail running approach to doing most of these peaks.
Yeah, for me, one of the most essential pieces of gear that I bring is tea. I like to have tea at the end of the day to help me sleep, and we've been harvesting some mugwort, which is a little plant that you can find in most places down near water that is actually a sleep aid. So we've been, and sleep is very important for recovery. And I'd argue that's one of the most important pieces of gear. The mugwort tea.
That's awesome. Have you seen anything else out there that's kind of unusual or things that you just didn't expect to? For instance, I was talking to a friend who had done a peak list. I don't know. It was in Washington State. It wasn't the Boulders list, though, but it was in, I think, the Enchantments. And he was saying it was like a car chassis almost at the summit of this peak. And he's like, how the hell did that get up here? And it was old. So it's like prior to even the roads that were there now weren't there before. So it's like, what? How did that get there? Anything unusual? I mean, it is California. All kinds of cool and quirky things going on all the time.
I'm curious which peak that was. So this is kind of an aside, but the Enchantments were like that was my original alpine stomping grounds. Those are like the closest real mountains to Spokane. And I've had a lot of very impactful and important experiences there. So they're
Oh, wow.
probably my favorite little section of mountains on Earth. So I guess I have to go back and find this car.
I'll have to figure out where it was. It's two brothers that wrote a book on, I don't remember the name of the book. I had them on the show a couple years ago. They wrote like the book on weekend experiences in that area, climbing experiences. So I'll find their names and have to get that over to you. And I have the book too. So
was it the Gilbertson twins by chance?
I don't know. I'll have to check. I'll look at the book and look at their name and send that over to you.
That'd be sweet.
But anyway, they were talking about just random things that you'd find out there and play like, oh, no one's probably ever been here before. And you look over and there's like a car from the 50s. Like, what? Clearly people have been here in a big way.
In terms of the Sierra, we were up on Florence Peak a few days ago down by Mineral King, and we were climbing this ridge and we started seeing these tiny little just like bits of like metal and like kind of mechanical looking parts and like electronic looking parts. And we found more and more parts, and eventually we decided that it must have been a small plane crash up on this ridge at maybe 12,000 feet. And there's like multiple hundreds of feet along this ridge. There were just like tons and tons of these tiny little pieces. And we never found anything bigger than maybe like a microwave at the biggest. It was mostly just like tiny little scraps. And then as we climbed, we hit the summit. And then as we wrapped back around, we found like one of the small engines, one of the props down in the valley below. And yeah, that was a little bit kind of surreal and unexpected for sure. The craziest thing about that was just like how like strewn, like how big of a spread the debris was. It was just like scattered all over this mountainside.
Holy cow. Yeah, that's insane. I hope that wasn't new in the sense of
like... It seemed like it had been there for a while.
Okay.
But
so people probably were aware of it.
I'm sure, yeah.
Wow, that's wild.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Another one that's kind of unusual is up out of Pine Creek Canyon on the Gable Lakes Trail on the way up to Four Gables Peaks. There's the remnants of this old tram that I believe they used for like resource extraction for like mining. So there's like this, like think sort of like a ski lift, but that goes way up into these mountains. They used it to carry ore back down, I guess. And so there's all like these random messes of like cables and towers kind of scattered along this valley.
Wow.
We did also find pretty recently, we found this cache of like cooking ware and tarps and hot chocolate that we tried out.
It had been there for much too long.
Time.
That one was pretty disappointing.
Yeah, we actually had to pack out some of the trash, but we couldn't take all of it. That was interesting. The hot chocolate was good in our oatmeal.
Yeah.
That's awesome, y'all. Yeah, hopefully that wasn't someone waiting on that.
No, it hadn't been there for a long time, it seemed like.
Another thing that we've been finding a lot of, I'm going to go on a really short rant here, if that's okay. We have found dozens, maybe 100. We're probably getting close to 100.
Yeah.
Balloons scattered across the mountains.
No kidding.
And it's all like, I know there's much bigger issues facing our environment and our climate, but this is one little thing that people need to do better about. People need to stop buying helium balloons because they fly off and they land in the Sierra, and it's just a real bummer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an astounding amount of balloons.
It seems like almost every day we find at least one balloon.
Wow, that is so wild. I mean, it makes perfect sense. They essentially can travel miles and miles and miles once released, and the wind that carries them right up there, unreal.
Yeah, the prevailing winds in the Sierra are coming from the west, so you have all these big population centers along the coast, and then all the balloons that people let go of just end up in the mountains.
Man, so wild. Yeah, something that I'm convinced most people aren't willingly littering. Like when we go, I live near the beach and mangroves, and it's just like a filter for trash. I'm just convinced it just is, most of it is accidental. Like people aren't just tossing trash out, but it is crazy how much that compounds into something you see on a daily basis. Who would have thought balloons at 10, 12,000, 14,000 feet up in the mountains of just, they go somewhere and they end somewhere.
Yeah.
And those things, I mean, marmot starts eating that or an animal or whatever. It's getting lodged in their throat. That's not going to be pretty.
Definitely. Yeah. It's also just like, it's kind of, it's weird and kind of shocking to be like, scrambling up this mountainside at 13,000 feet and feeling like you're on another planet and like no one's been there before. And then all of a sudden there's just like a hot pink balloon on the rock in front of you.
Definitely takes away from the experience.
A little bit, yeah.
No more balloons, people. Jeez. So speaking of that, obviously it sounds like you are packing stuff out. You have to be eating something. How are you keeping yourselves fueled? What does that look like? What's that strategy?
Well, last night I ate an entire family-sized box of Oreos.
Man, I got one in my fridge right now. Someone just told me to put Oreos in the fridge, which y'all can't do right now, and it's awesome. And I was like, how much difference can it make? It is so much better.
Really?
Whoa.
It's like it's filled with ice cream at that point, and it like to dip it in milk is so much better when it's cold. The Oreo's cold. Yeah, I was like, nah, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It's amazing.
Like with it being hot in the van, my Oreos have always been like a little bit melty lately.
Yeah,
which I'm kind of into that because then it's like gooey. But I'll have to try getting them cold sometime. But yeah, the Oreos are definitely a staple. We need to get sponsored by Oreo. That's my real goal behind this peak bagging thing, is to land the first Oreo athlete sponsorship.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Oreos, ramen. For me, it was always like Snickers and stuff like that.
Snickers.
But all right, so Oreos, that's a big part of it. Anything else?
Mostly just lots of carbs, lots of fat, lots of protein, and not a lot else. Like I try to still eat some fruits and vegetables, but for the most part, like I'll start eating some vegetables and my stomach just immediately tells me like, dude, you don't have room for anything that's not pure calories.
No vegetables. You're on that no vegetables diet. That's
pretty much, yeah.
I've been trying to sneak vegetables into the burritos.
Trav's trying to keep me healthy, but all I want to eat is Oreos and pie.
So I know that you, Travis, at least, are an avid dumpster diver. Have y'all been doing any of that? Because I'll be honest, I'm a fan. I like to dumpster dive, and I would always do that on my adventures just as a way to, save a little money. Obviously, we waste a lot, which is unfortunate, and you can, if you're willing to do that, there's plenty to have.
Yeah, I think I haven't dumpster dove since Bishop when we first started because I'm familiar with those dumpsters. And I remember finding a good amount of vegetables basically around when we first started. But since then, I haven't really been because we're trying to get in and out of town as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's hard when you're on the move.
But hey, maybe I'll give it a go here at Vaughn's once we're done with this interview and let you know what we find.
Do you have the Oakhurst dumpster diving beta for us?
I wish I did. It's been like 10 years, so I don't know if it still applies. But Vaughn's definitely, gosh, in any of the places that you would normally do, check out there because Oakhurst is it's like the last town you see really with services. So a lot of tourists are going in and out, dropping stuff off or buying stuff. It's definitely a good spot. The valley itself too. There's a couple grocery stores there, and there's just a lot of waste. People are in vacation mode, so they're a little extra wasteful, honestly.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of wild the amount that runs through those places. But yeah, you guys are in for some awesome stuff. So after this, after Yosemite, can you take us through like what is left? Are you going? You're going north, or are you going south? And also, what are some of the iconic mountains or the things you're looking forward to after this almost break in Yosemite or this point in Yosemite?
So after Yosemite, we have a few in like the Sonora Pass area that will be fairly straightforward and easy, mostly trail miles, which we're excited for. And then we're actually going to split up for a few days. Travis is going to head north to climb all the peaks around Lake Tahoe, which I've already done. It's sort of a strategic decision because that area is pretty fire prone. And so he wants to get those done as soon as possible before fire season starts. So while he's up there, I have a couple link ups that I'm pretty excited for. I have one coming up that's going to be Bear Creek Spire, Abbott Mills, and Dade up above Rock Creek Canyon, which I'm really excited for. There's some amazing and rugged peaks. After that, we're going to be going in to this it's going to be close to a 2-week link up, just kind of a long, almost like a short through hike type of thing in between Taboos Pass and North Lake. And basically just going to be doing a bunch of the most rugged terrain in the Sierra, some of the most challenging peaks, including the Evolution Traverse, which is a mega classic, and a bunch of the peaks in the Palisades. And so, yeah, it's kind of the last big crux, and we're really looking forward to it.
I want to talk a little bit about your website too, sps2022.com. Talk about some of the technology going into that, because y'all are tracking this in a way I've never seen before. Like, is this a new thing that people are doing? Like, I can see, well, I thought some of my stats were right, but I know there's a little delay. So, but it's like showing what peaks you've climbed. It has a map, not just like a aerial map, but like a 3D Google Earth map of like where you are and where you're hiking and climbing at the time through your inReach. It's really cool. It's like everything right there that you want to follow the experience. Is this like proprietary technology that y'all are using? I've never seen it before.
So just to be clear, neither of us can take any credit for the website at all. I guess I can't speak for Travis, but I'm pretty technologically incompetent. The website is actually the creation of the guy who's sponsoring us, Dan. He's a software developer, and they're really, really smart guy and really creative guy. And so, yeah, he's put together this really amazing software. We get lots of compliments about it. It's fun to like even ourselves to go on there, and you can sort of like go back through and relive some of the days we've already done with all the 3D tracking and the photos and stuff. So yeah, we send in the photos, we write the trip reports, and then he does all the magic.
Yeah, it's really awesome being able to share the experience in such a visual way, because one of my main drives is like just to share these places with like my family and friends and just other people that are interested. And I think it's a really neat way for people to follow along and just be able to like see and maybe connect with these places that they otherwise wouldn't be able to go. So yeah, he's done a great job.
If nothing else, I know that my mom loves it.
Yeah, our moms are pretty excited that they know exactly where we are at all times.
And I'm sure, yeah, it's like if I wish my mom would have had something like this to reference before, assuming I had been eaten by a bear, because this is great. Just saying, okay, there's updates from this morning, this afternoon. Here's where they are. I have all this. It's pretty amazing, honestly. Your all the elevation to just geek out on, or all the data to geek out on, and from elevation, from distance, activity time, maps. It's pictures, like you said. It's really cool, really amazing. So I commend y'all and Dan for putting that together. And also before we go, I did want to ask too. Like you guys are accepting donations for a specific organization. Could y'all tell us like what it is you're kind of driving attention towards?
Yeah, basically before we got going, we worked out a fundraiser with the Bishop Paiute Food Sovereignty Program, and they're located in Bishop. And basically what they do is that they're located on the Paiute Reservation. And they have a garden and a small ranch that they're working on where they plant seeds and grow food. And they used to have markets where they distributed and sold food. I think that's going to start sometime this summer once they have some more crops. But basically their mission is just like feeding the Paiute people and having some sort of sovereignty just for themselves. And so basically, yeah, I met with the elders of the Paiute people and got their blessing that they seemed pretty psyched about it. And And so, yeah, it's just a really neat way to give back to that community, because the Paiute people were here a long time ago in the Sierras. And so, yeah, it's just when times are tough and like I feel like being selfish or, just like it's nice to know that we're giving back to a community. And so I think we've been able to raise a little over 2,000 for them so far. And ideally, I'd like to get to 5. We'll see how much, but yeah, it's been working out so far.
And as an aside, if anyone that's listening is interested in donating, they can find the link in both of our social media and on the website. And yeah,
cool.
We would really appreciate any help that anyone is interested in contributing.
Awesome. We will absolutely plug that and have that in the show notes as well. And also, before we go, y'all, lastly, I really appreciate y'all taking the time. But before we go, I do want to hear what has been like your favorite story to tell from the experience, like maybe one of the first things that you say about it that was really cool or a beautiful day to just get people jazzed about adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Fishhook was pretty
It's
cool.
tough to pick one.
Yeah, I bet.
It's tough to pick one.
Maybe we'll both tell one. Do you want to talk about Fishhook, Travis?
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting ones came pretty early on when we were working on the Whitney group. And it was day 2 for me and my second peak. And if you haven't heard of Fishhook Red on Mount Russell, it's basically this striking sort of like arching ridge that goes pretty much straight up the face of Mount Russell, and it's this golden arête that is basically shaped like a fishhook.
It's one of the most beautiful pieces of rock in the Sierra.
It's very beautiful, and it's rated 5.9, and it's something that both of us had wanted to climb for a while, and so we were both really looking forward to it. And so we were camped down at Boy Scout Lake below Mount Whitney and woke up, and we were both very excited. As we started hiking, we noticed that it was a little windier than expected that day, and got over to the base of Mount Russell, and the wind was just really cranking down. It was around like 30 miles an hour probably. And it was pretty sustained too. It was like big gusts, but for the most part, it was just constantly moving through, and it was just really cold. And it was a bit of a bummer because we were at the base of this climb that we really wanted to do. And yeah, it wasn't ideal conditions. So we both decided on the count of 3, we would either put a thumbs up or thumbs down, depending on what we wanted to do. And we both gave a thumbs up and basically launched into the arête, and it was awesome. It was cold for sure, and making like 5.9 moves was a little tricky, but in the wind, but
engaging,
a little engaging, especially because we didn't have any gear. But yeah, once we made it past the crux, we were just like so psyched. It felt like we just had tons of momentum. It almost felt like we were like harnessing the wind at that point and just like riding the wave up the rest of the arête. And it was a really great day.
Wow. Sounds epic. I'm sure it's just been indescribable to see. Most beautiful mountains in the country, maybe in the world to a lot of us. Man, so cool. So cool. Well, congratulations, y'all, on what you've accomplished so far. I know the work is undone, but you've got some really awesome stuff ahead, as y'all know, and I'm super excited for you. So we'll have to reconnect once you're done and just see how the whole experience ended up playing out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thank you for taking the time, and I also thank you for sending those athletic brews on over. We're both avid athletic brew drinkers. We've been taking a break from alcohol for this whole project, and so the NA brews are pretty clutch.
Oh, man, that's so awesome to hear. Yeah, anything like this, there's just certain things you're going to cut out. Obviously not Oreos, sounds like. That's not getting cut out. But yeah, stuff that can inhibit your mind and personality definitely could make or break this experience being a success or not. So it's probably wise of y'all. And I'm glad it's been able to help because that's what Athletic Brewing's all about, helping folks do cool stuff like this. So thank y'all. And good luck. Have fun in Yosemite. And eat some pizza, eat some Oreos, and we'll talk soon.
All right.
Awesome.
Thanks, Mason.
Thanks, Mason.
Have a great day.
First of all, thank you so much for listening. It means the world to us that you choose to listen to this show. If you'd like to help us further, you can leave a review on iTunes, share us with your friends, your family. It goes a long way to grow in the show. You can also support us financially through patreon.com/adventuresportspodcast. Link is in the show notes. And also, if you have an idea of who could be a good guest for the show, we're always looking for people to tell their story about the outdoors or adventure. So if you know someone, please reach out. Email us at info@adventuresportspodcast.com. And until then, get out there and have some fun.
This week on RVER, sponsored by Progressive Insurance.
Hey, Chief, we got a damaged RV on its way to the OR.
Well, that sounds like a job for the new head of RV surgery.
Wait, are you promoting me?
Congrats, Martinez.
Doctor, that RV's flatlining.
Well, that sounds like a job for the new head of nursing.
So you're just promoting everyone now?
Yeah, kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
When your RV really needs saving, Progressive has you covered. See if you could save with a leader in RV insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms.
Hi, welcome to your neighborhood pharmacy.
Hi, I've got a prescription for diabetes test strips. How much is the copay?
Well, it depends on your type of commercial insurance and factoring in your yearly spend, subtracting the deductibles, also depending on your monthly allowance.
Why can't there be a better option?
Or you could try Contour Next test strips. A 35 count's only $19.99 over the counter and proven to be highly accurate. Go to contournext.com/radio to see if over-the-counter strips are a more affordable option for you.
I think I'll try Contour Next.